loves. I am Jill. I talk to people about college applications. I have a book coming out in just like 2 weeks, March 3rd. You can find it on all sorts of places, so you can Google it. But I wanted to talk to you today about Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, power, genius, Ezra Klein. Who's the other guy who we interviewed? Anand Giridharadas. Today I was listening to an interview, and Anand Giridharadas, who is a sociologist who works on powerful people, elites, like the world of the elites, right? And then Ezra Klein, who is a New York Times writer and podcast guy. They're both doing their best for the world, right? Sometimes I feel like men, when in their speaking, forget certain things. And this happened today when I was listening, and I got so mad. And at the gym, I almost made you another gym podcast. But Ezra Klein and Anand Giridharadas were talking about, how Jeffrey Epstein got away with everything he got away with, how he could be a predator of so many young women and so many people, so many rich. He was a predator of a lot of people, right? And listening to their podcast a couple of days ago was really enlightening. But at one point they were talking about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, the relationship together. And one of them said, well, they both share this type of genius. And I was like, I stopped cold, because a lot of us hold that label genius is something really wonderful, right? And I think people misuse it, and they use it in such a bad way to make people feel like it's this special thing that happens with a very few people. And we can talk about savants, that's another thing, but like, to call what these two men can do as a type of genius is just, I think it's just not right. I think it's untrue. We as humans, maybe we came from creatures who had predatory instincts, right? So there's nothing genius about being predatory. There's nothing genius about it. And if your predatory nature gets you to a great place of power, equally not genius at all, right? There is nothing genius about power. Now, when you apply to school, you might think you're going against all these people who are genius, and you're going to be going against a lot of people who are powerful. A lot of people get into school because they have money. A lot of people get into school because they come from power, and they know how to exert power, and they know how to write power, and they know how to hire people who can then deliver power, right? But that's not genius. There's nothing genius about that. A lot of people who get into top schools, not genius. Even, there are a lot of people who are very, very, very talented, but we have to remember that money has power to in some ways cultivate talent, not give talent, but to cultivate it, right? So genius is a really tricky word. This is what genius is, my friends. Genius is the ability to be completely yourself, so that you manage yourself. If you have power and control over yourself, that is genius. If you can be purely, clearly you and survive in this world, that is genius. That is what is genius. Because the more you know of yourself, and the more you can then the more you can understand the world. The more you can understand the world, the more you can see the problems within it. You can better assess what needs to happen. That is genius. There is nothing genius about being powerful. There is nothing genius about being predatory. Nothing at all. But you can be genius, and you can get into school. All right, take care.